Tonight on NewsWatch, investigating the IRS. What was the organization up to when it decided to target Tea Party groups?
Plus, how cyber attacks are becoming the biggest threat to national security.
And we'll look at how something called the 10K plan can save college students thousands of dollars. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, some are calling the IRS scandal chilling. Others, like lawmakers, want to know what the tax agency was really up to when it targeted conservative groups.
This as the IRS faces a federal lawsuit from Tea Party and conservative organizations. George Thomas has more.
Again and again, this administration and its allies have used the resources of the government itself to intimidate or silence those who question.
A new TV ad by Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell hits airwaves, condemning the Obama administration for using the IRS to target Tea Party groups.
I don't know about you, but I think that the leader of the free world and his advisors have better things to do than dig through other people's tax returns.
The scandal keeps getting bigger. The Inspector General's report said a few low-level staff from the Cincinnati office were involved.
This is a letter from the United States Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Washington, D.C.
But Jay Sekulow with the American Center for Law and Justice says he has new evidence showing the targeting of conservative groups went far beyond a few agents in a single city.
We have the letters. We have the documents. These aren't hard to get. Their agents wrote them to us. 15 agents, 4 different offices.
Sekulow is suing the IRS on behalf of 25 Tea Party and conservative groups.
This is an agency that is completely out of control. Right now, Treasury is, I say the IRS in particular, is institutionally incapable of regulating itself.
The White House has dismissed suggestions it was aware of the targeting, saying the president only learned of the investigation from the media. Meanwhile, the scope and breadth of the allegations have many wondering what the tax agency was really up to.
When a government decides to start targeting its own citizens for no other reason than their political affiliation, we all have a right to be very, very scared.
The IRS sent out questionnaires wanting to know what books people read, their Facebook posts, donor names. Some groups were even asked to give information about their prayers. The big question is, who's responsible? Who ordered the IRS to target Tea Party and conservative groups?
I think we're just starting to get into where this originated, who knew what, when, and I believe, like Watergate, this is probably going to be a scandal. It's going to continue to drip, and we're going to learn more as time goes on.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Seton Motley is the founder and president of Less Government. He joins us now with more. Seton, what is the goal of the investigation into the IRS scandal, would you say?
I would say it's to get to the truth. I mean, we need to know what the IRS was doing. We need to know who was placing the orders for these intimidation tactics, these investigatory tactics, the blocking of conservative groups from getting their approval at the IRS. We need to know who's ordered this. I mean, it strains credulity that President Obama says he learned about this on the news when his chief of staff knew about it. If his chief of staff knew about it, remember, we didn't learn his chief of staff knew about it until 3 or 4 lies down the road. Because first it was low-level staffers in Cincinnati, then we found out it was California and D.C. Then Lois Lerner said she was never involved, pleaded the 5th, and then we find out she's got her signature on more than a dozen letters that Jay Sekulow has when she claimed she only learned it on the news.
Now
we learned that Jack Lew knew, the Treasury Secretary, and President Obama's chief of staff.
The new ad from Mitch McConnell claims the Obama administration tries to intimidate and silence those who raise questions. Do you think that's the case?
Oh, absolutely. Look, if you can't get your 501c4 status approved, you can't do all the things a 501c4 does, which is raise your voice to express your opinion and hopefully affect change in the country. If you can't get approved to do this, and some of these groups have been waiting longer than 3 years, then you can't do what 501c4s do. Barack Obama's got a 501c4, Organizing for America. That had no problem transitioning from Organizing for Action to, or I forget what the name is. It's still OFA. It's still Barack Obama. Barack Obama's half-brother got the Barack H. Obama approval signed by Lois Lerner herself in less than a month. and retroactively applied because he was illegally raising money too far along. Finally applied for the approval and got it in less than a month. So it's not just an accident. It's not just a bureaucratic snafu. It's intentional targeting of conservative and Tea Party groups.
And let's talk a little bit more about that. Do you think the problems at the IRS point back to bigger problems within the Obama administration?
Well, there's so many different scandals that all have the same underlying theme, which is punish your enemies and reward your friends. You've got the IRS, you've got the AP/James Rosen thing, where they're going after reporters to silence them. You've got little tiny ones in comparison, like the EPA. When you file a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, and you're a leftist group, you get quickly responded to, and they waive your fee for the FOIA request. If you're a conservative group, they stonewall you, they don't answer you, and they charge you if and when they actually do. All of these things have in common that punish your enemies and reward your friends.
All right, Seton Motley, as always, thanks for your insights. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Attorney General Eric Holder is being tied directly to the Obama administration's targeting of a Fox News reporter. The Justice Department is confirming Holder personally signed off on a warrant to search the emails of Fox reporter James Rosen. That warrant labeled Rosen as a, quote, co-conspirator in an investigation of a government leak. While some have called for Eric Holder to resign, President Obama is asking him to investigate the very scandal that he's involved in, a move many are questioning.
With Eric Holder, I think one of the things the press hasn't really underlined yet is the degree to which the Attorney General has a bad habit of lying to Congress or misleading Congress or failing to supply Congress with the information it's asking for. With that kind of a record, more than other attorneys general, this is not somebody who should be investigating his own department.
And for more of that interview, you can visit our website, cbnnews.com.
Conservative Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann will not run for another term. Bachmann is a Tea Party favorite who ran for the Republican presidential nomination last year.
Forward. After the completion of my term, my future is full, it is limitless, and my passions for America will remain. And I want you to be assured that there is no future option or opportunity, be it directly in the political arena or otherwise, that I won't be giving serious consideration if it can help save and protect our great nation for future generations.
Bachmann says her decision was not based on concerns about a tough re-election campaign in 2014, nor about inquiries into her presidential campaign last year. Instead, she says 8 years is long enough to serve in the House of Representatives. She once told CBN News that her greatest desire is to please God.
It brings tears to my eyes that when we come to the end of our days, we want to know that on our deathbed, that the Lord will say to us, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I thank God that I have received His grace and that He has forgiven me of my sins and made a way for my salvation. And I just pray that for the time that I have left, that I will faithfully serve Him until that day.
Amen. Bachmann says she will use her remaining 18 months in the House to fight for the conservative cause.
So inspiring. Well, another round in the legal battle over Bible banners at high school football games in Southeast Texas. A district judge had ruled that the banners decorated with Bible verses are not forbidden by the U.S. Constitution. But the Coon School District is appealing that ruling. They want to know if the cheerleaders have a free speech right to include the Bible messages on their banners. They say the original ruling did not make that clear. Religious leaders in New York City scored a political victory in their ongoing fight to hold worship services inside public school buildings. The city council passed a resolution encouraging the state legislature to take a vote to allow faith-based institutions to rent the space. The council passed the measure with a vote of 38-11. A pastor leading in this fight said, quote, "We love our city. We love our mayor and chancellor, and we love those who have opposed us. We now will look to Albany for the next step." Freedom to worship legislation passed in the state Senate last year, but it was held up in the state assembly.
The cyber war between the U.S. and China is intensifying. Chinese hackers have accessed designs for some of the nation's most advanced weapons. U.S. officials are calling it a staggering security breach. Ephraim Graham reports.
The cyber war with China is being called the greatest national security challenge facing the U.S. Now, after months of computer security breaches involving Chinese hackers, officials say the blueprints of at least 29 critical U.S. weapon systems have been compromised. That includes the Black Hawk helicopter, the Navy's missile defense system, and even the state-of-the-art F-35 jet fighter.
It tracks really nicely with Chinese military priorities. How do you beat U.S. air defenses? How do you let China attack our carriers? How do you preserve China's ICBMs from U.S. missile defense? How do you get advantage in the air and in the sea?
A Pentagon study published by the Washington Post says the U.S. sustained staggering losses. The Obama administration has called on China to stop cyber theft. Military experts believe the operation is part of the People's Liberation Army's Cyber Command, authorized by the highest levels of China's military.
It really narrows the gap and it shades the odds in China's direction. We still are militarily superior, no doubt about that, but we're not as superior as we were before all this happened. So some serious risk as a result of these Chinese successes.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is heading to Southeast Asia to discuss cybersecurity, and President Obama is expected to raise the issue with China's leader next month at a summit in Southern California.
It's something we raise very directly with the Chinese, and we're going to do so through diplomatic channels and be very consistent.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Coming up, we're in the Philippines for the return of Superbook.
Remember the happy days when he said everyone gets health insurance. But now, Congress says 7 million Americans will lose their health insurance, and your insurance rates could increase by 200%. Some health plans even get hit with a 40% tax and over $700 billion in Medicare cuts. So now we're really sad. But you can be happy again by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller, and over 500,000 Americans have gotten a copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. You can get your copy at Obamacare911.com. It gives you the tips, strategies, and loopholes you need to know. Get your copy of the Obamacare Survival Guide at stores everywhere for $19.95, or get the internet-only offer of just $4.95 and save $15. Go to Obamacare911.com to claim your copy now.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
An extreme weather outbreak continues to sweep across America. Tonight, forecasters say the atmosphere is primed for more violent storms in Kansas, Nebraska, and parts of Oklahoma, still recovering from last week's deadly EF5. From Texas to Michigan overnight, there were at least 20 reports of tornadoes. Meanwhile, rain continues to cause flooding in parts of Iowa.
We knew we couldn't get out because the road was gone, and if we'd tried, we probably would have ended up part of the lake.
On top of all that, dry conditions and high winds are fueling brush fires in California.
Well, turning overseas, after 20 years, new episodes of CBN Superbook recently premiered in the Philippines. The relaunch of the show aims to teach children biblical values, just like the original series did for their parents. Lucille Toulousan reports.
The Philippine press and ministry partners, who are also Superbook fans, flocked to the cinema screening of its new edition. This was the first of many activities for the day-long launch of Superbook in the Philippines. Viewers were impressed with the state-of-the-art animation, and some were nostalgic, seeing their favorite cartoon return after more than 20 years.
I cried when I love it. The part na nagpart yung Red Sea. So I was thinking, that's our God, and He's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. The same God that parted that Red Sea is the same God who's with me.
Energy is running high in the super launch of the Superbook Reimagined that's happening in one of the popular malls here in Manila. Most parents who came here are members of the Super Kids Club 2 decades ago, and today they brought their children to pass on the legacy of growing up in the knowledge of God's Word through the animated series of Superbook.
Celebrities who volunteered to be part of the show all grew up watching Superbook. They say this was their way of showing gratitude to the cartoon that taught them biblical values.
All the lessons that you can get from the Bible, it was really instilled in my life from watching these cartoons, and simple stuff like, being honest, respecting your parents.
Ruther, a ventriloquist, told us that Superbook influenced his desire to go into ministry.
I've been a puppeteer since I was 12.
That was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I grew up in Superbook. I love it. Yeah. Because watching an animated show, it helps you imagine. When it's learning through having fun, watching a fun show like Superbook, yeah, they're really gonna learn a lot. Yeah.
Seeing the fruit in the lives of the classic Superbook followers paints a bright picture for the coming generation.
The picture that comes to mind is Gizmo with a shield. Superbook in its very creative form, but with such eternal value and with such life-changing messages. This show will protect the children from all the things, all the negative stuff that are on TV and online that's out there right now.
Superbook Reimagined and the classic, dubbed in the Filipino language, airs every weekend on one of the largest television networks. Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Manila.
Up next, cutting the cost of college. Find out what the future may hold for higher education.
You do not know. He's reaching for you.
I want my family back.
Go make some good memories together.
Crash landed. Son, if we are going to survive this, you must realize that fear is not real. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. Together, we will survive.
After Earth, rated PG-13, Friday.
Your search results are your reputation, and negative results, true or not, are more likely to be clicked. Unfortunately, 74% of people say they won't do business with someone who has negative results. That endangers your livelihood. It's time you take control with Reputation.com. Reputation.com watches over you online, protecting everything you've worked hard for and improving your reputation by promoting the truth that you control.
Call 1-800-794-0885 for your free reputation review. Call now.
Remember the happy days when he said everyone gets health insurance. But now, Congress says 7 million Americans will lose their health insurance, and your insurance rates could increase by 200%. Some health plans even get hit with a 40% tax and over $700 billion in Medicare cuts. So now, we're really sad. But you can be happy again by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller, and over 500,000 Americans have gotten a copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. You can get your copy at Obamacare911.com. It gives you the tips, strategies, and loopholes you need to know. Get your copy of the Obamacare Survival Guide at stores everywhere for $19.95, or get the internet-only offer of just $4.95 and save $15. Go to Obamacare911.com to claim your copy now.
Going to college costs big. The average student graduates with well over $20,000 in debt.
Yes, but soon it could be easier and cheaper for anyone to get a higher education. Heather Sells explains in tonight's Focus Report.
Like many of her generation, Leela Mills heads to college armed with the latest ways to save. She started by taking college credit courses while still in high school. Today, she lives at home, has a job, and is already paying on her student loans.
I've been told by other people that you come out of college with debt, so I just accepted it, and I put it in my mind it's going to take me 10 years to pay off this debt.
While Mills is optimistic, she and her peers still face an uphill battle. In the last 25 years, college tuition has risen more than 400%. Nationally, the average student graduates with well over $20,000 in debt. Combine that with a tough economy and poor job prospects, and it creates a perfect storm. For parents, even those with dual incomes, there's plenty to worry about.
I've got back-to-back kids going into college. We've been through economic hard times, used a lot of our savings to get through that. So now paying for college here in 2 years is a definite concern.
That concern stretches to many college campuses where administrators are trying to cut costs, keep quality high, and compete with a new array of online offerings.
In this current educational climate, many universities are facing a cloudy future. In fact, analysts like Nathan Harden say half will not make it.
I think a lot of universities potentially might find themselves having trouble attracting enough students to keep going.
In his article, The End of the University as We Know It, Harden predicts dramatic changes in the next 50 years, a future where only elite and flagship state schools survive. It includes the decline of residential campuses, free online access to a college-level education for all, and the closure of roughly half of the country's 4,500 universities. It's a landscape that Regent University President Carlos Campo says must be navigated with care.
Is Nathan Harden right that tuition-driven schools will fail in the next 50 years? Yes. It's tough to let go and say we're not going to make it. No school wants to say that about themselves. But I think you're going to see that students are thinking, this school isn't well resourced. It's quite clear that their graduates aren't doing well in the marketplace. How can I invest in this education?
In today's environment, Campo says universities must know who they are and create online opportunities for students.
There are great case statements to be made for a lower cost. You can get through an online degree often more quickly than you can in a traditional environment.
Still, Campo believes the residential experience is here to stay.
There is something different about the interaction that happens, the growth that happens in the student body as they interact with their peers, with faculty and staff.
Regent offers both online and traditional programs, a path many universities are jumping on as well. Perhaps the clearest sign of change is elite universities like Harvard and MIT offering what are known as massive open online courses, or MOOCs. These free classes are open to anyone, anywhere.
The big stigma here, I think, is that online education hasn't been respected as sort of being on par with an in-class experience. But I think that's starting to slowly change.
Ultimately, Harden believes thousands of professors will lose their jobs as online education efficiently delivers content. For now, many kinks remain. There's no degree credit attached to MOOCs like Harvard's. And in the current online universe, there is a wealth of options to consider. Campo says students must know what they want and consider what skill sets employers want.
I would ask this, tell me the online educator you're considering, what are their graduation rates? What are their students doing 2 years after they graduate, 5 or 10?
One bright spot for students moves to dramatically lower tuition. In Texas, they're calling it the 10K revolution. That is $10K as in $10,000 for a 4-year degree.
In the past, when the cost of college has been addressed, we've always heard, well, let's raise taxes or lower the interest rates on student loans so that students can pay more, or tax dollars can go higher. Instead, now, for the first time, we're lowering the cost of college.
Some Texas and Florida universities have already begun to offer such degrees. which usually start in high school with dual credit classes. And they typically offer web-based instruction to glean savings. It could be a marriage made in higher ed heaven, technology paving the way for dramatic tuition cuts. Leila Mills has already taken advantage, taking online classes to save time and money. It's just one more indication that fundamental changes are already underway. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Up next, towing the line for charity. One man's quest to raise $80,000 for families without homes.
Your dryer runs forever, and your clothes still come out damp? Now you can speed up your dryer by up to 15 minutes. Introducing the Lint Lizard. It's like a magic wand that cleans deep into any dryer. The flexible Lint Lizard attaches right to any vacuum hose. Look how much lint we got out of this dryer. All this lint that escapes past your lint screen. Yuck! A clogged dryer works harder. All that lint can even burn out your motor. Or worse, it can start a dangerous vent fire. It's a full 40 inches long and cleans deep into your vent system, grabbing all the packed-in lint that's choking your dryer. After a quick cleaning with the Lint Lizard, your dryer vent is clear, making it work less and run more efficiently. Old-fashioned lint brushes pull out some lint, and the lint gets everywhere. The Lint Lizard cleans deeper and sends the lint right into your vac bag. Vacuuming between machines and under appliances is a snap. Take it outdoors to vac your outside vent. So before you spend a fortune on costly repairs, order your Lint Lizard for just $10.99. Call right now and you can double your order. And that's not all. We'll also include the Dust Lizard. It attaches to any vac and adjusts to any position. The Dust Lizard goes where no other attachment can. Clean delicate electronics, tedious air vents, tiny tile crevices, crumbs from corners, dirt from slider tracks, places you could never vacuum before, even expensive sculptures and intricate chandeliers. Plus, the Lint Lizard comes with a money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return them and keep the Dust Lizard. You get it all, 2 Lint Lizards and the Dust Lizard for $10.99. Call now and find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-373-2150 and get your Lint Lizard. But call now and you can get a special offer on a second Lint Lizard and the Dust Lizard with your order. So call 1-800-373-2150 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-373-2150. Call now.
A 49-year-old Michigan man is making a difference one stroke at a time.
All while pulling 1 ton of bricks behind him. Jim Dreyer is training to pull 4 10-foot dinghies, each filled with 500 pounds of bricks. The swimmer will tow the bricks to promote his partnership with Habitat for Humanity. They're joining forces to raise money for families to build their own homes.
The bricks are very symbolic because that pain is symbolic of the pain felt by Michigan families who are trying to keep their heads above water. Together, we can be the bricks that rebuild lives, rebuild communities, and rebuild this great state.
Good for him. That's one strong swimmer. Well, the ultra-marathoner will swim the 22 miles across Lake St. Clair this August, a mile further, Wendy, than swimming the English Channel.
Whoa.
Yeah,
wow, that makes my back hurt watching that. He must have a really strong back.
I would say so,
arms, everything.
He's in shape.
He's in shape, right. Well, that's fantastic. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of NewsWatch.
Yeah, remember you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. Hope to join us next time.
Good night.